Welcome to Left Africa.
So imagine having this state-of-the-art titanium safe for your most private conversations. I mean, it is practically impenetrable.
Right.
But to even use it, you are forced to paint your home address in neon letters right on the front door.
Yeah, which totally defeats the purpose.
Exactly. And for 17 years, that is essentially how WhatsApp has functioned. Welcome to today's deep dive. We're looking at a date that, honestly, quietly rewrote the rules of digital communication. June 30, 2026.
A pretty massive day for tech privacy.
Yeah, that's the day WhatsApp finally rolled out usernames to its 3 billion users. And we are pulling today from a really comprehensive briefing called the WhatsApp Username Dossier, which pulls together reporting from Techaball, Bloomberg, Wired, Forbes, and Africa Check.
Really great source material in there.
It really is. And the mission for today is to figure out why adding a simple handle to a profile, which, most apps did a decade ago, is actually this monumental shift in global privacy, digital identity, and corporate strategy.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because as one of those billions of users, this fundamentally changes how you protect your identity.
Oh, absolutely. And that titanium safe analogy you used, it perfectly captures the central paradox of their entire security model.
How so?
Well, WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption only ever protected the content of your messages. So the math behind the encryption is the industry gold standard. It's solid.
Right, nobody's reading the actual text.
Exactly. But it left the identity of the user, the actual phone number itself, entirely exposed.
Which is wild when you think about it.
Right. Scammers or, government surveillance entities, they didn't need to break this military-grade encryption if they just had the digits to find the safe. The phone number was basically the unencrypted key to their whole routing model. So you could block people after they message you, but you couldn't stop them from just grabbing your number out of a giant group chat.
Exactly. The door was already open.
So if having your phone number broadcast out there is this glaring privacy issue, I think the immediate reaction for a lot of people in the West is we'll just switch to a different app. Like, why not just use Signal or Telegram?
Yeah, that's the classic response.
But looking at the dossier, especially with its heavy focus on the African market, that whole just delete the app mindset feels incredibly out of touch with how the vast majority of the world actually uses this software.
It really is. The dossier highlights Africa specifically to illustrate a crucial concept here, which is platform lock-in. We are looking at a staggering scale of over 300 million African users.
That's what, like 1 in 10 global users?
Roughly, yeah. And in these markets, WhatsApp doesn't just function as like a convenient messaging app for making weekend plans. It operates as essential infrastructure.
Wow.
The network effect is so absolute that for millions of people, it is effectively the internet.
Let's actually pause on that, because the sources gave some incredible concrete examples of this. Like, a market stallholder in Lagos isn't setting up a Shopify store or buying web domains.
No, they're not.
They are running their entire inventory management through WhatsApp status updates.
Right, and the mechanics of that are just fascinating because traditional web hosting can be prohibitively expensive, right?
Yeah.
And standard web browsing uses a lot of data.
Yeah, data isn't cheap everywhere.
Exactly. So that stallholder just takes photos of their daily stock and uploads them as temporary statuses. Their customers already have the app open all day anyway.
So they just reply directly to the status to negotiate prices.
Yep. The entire supply chain and point of sale happens right there within the chat interface.
That's amazing. And the dossier also talked about Sudan, right?
Yeah, citizen journalists in Sudan use massive group chats to coordinate reporting and bypass state media blackouts. It consistently bypasses standard web censorship.
Because it's the one piece of software everyone already has.
Exactly. And you also see cross-border traders between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire arranging complex payments on it simply because it's the single unifying network across different telecom providers.
Okay, I also saw this detail from Techaball about Kenyan political organizers running campaigns on, quote, zero-rated data bundles. What exactly does that mean for the user on the ground? Like, walk me through how that works.
So this is perhaps the biggest driver of that platform lock-in we talked about. In a lot of emerging markets, telecom companies strike deals to offer zero-rated data specifically for WhatsApp.
Meaning the data is free.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
If you use WhatsApp to text or send voice notes, the data you consume does not count against your monthly cellular data cap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's effectively free to use once you buy a basic SIM card. So
Yep.
if you try to convince your community to switch to a more private competitor, like Signal,
You're suddenly asking them to pay for the cellular data to send those messages.
precise.
So the choice isn't just about which interface you prefer. If opting out of WhatsApp means effectively opting out of your entire economic and social life, doesn't that make this phone number requirement an unavoidable trap for users?
It absolutely does. And what's fascinating here is how that exact lack of choice forces users to accept privacy risks. Because users are financially and socially locked into this ecosystem, their required phone numbers became highly lucrative attack vectors for malicious actors.
Right, because everybody has to use it.
Exactly. And the consequences detailed in the reporting go way beyond, just receiving annoying spam texts.
Yeah, the scenarios outlined in the dossier are frankly terrifying. Take the situation in Zimbabwe with investigative journalists. The reporting shows they've been routinely targeted by state-linked hackers.
And the mechanism of attack there is almost boringly simple, which is what makes it so hard to defend against.
How so?
The surveillance apparatus doesn't need sophisticated software to locate a journalist. They just find the journalist's phone number, which is practically public information if they're in any large community groups.
Right.
Then the hacker adds that number to a newly created group and drops a malicious link.
Yeah.
The moment the journalist clicks it, the payload is delivered and the device is compromised.
Wow. So WhatsApp is just the delivery mechanism.
Yeah, the exposed phone number is the open door they walk through.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because it's not just targeted political surveillance. The financial devastation in places like Nigeria is staggering. Business Post Nigeria did this whole report on the plague of SIM swap fraud.
Oh, yeah. That is a huge issue.
But let's actually break down how that happens, because how does someone seeing my phone number in a WhatsApp group lead to my bank account getting drained?
Right. So the attack chain relies entirely on social engineering outside of the app. A scammer scrapes hundreds of exposed phone numbers from a public group. Then they take your specific number and actually call your mobile carrier, your telecom provider.
They just call them up.
Yeah. And pretending to be you, they claim their phone was lost or destroyed, and they ask the customer service rep to port your phone number over to a brand new physical SIM card that the scammer is holding in their hand.
Wait, and if the rep falls for it, my actual physical phone suddenly loses cellular service.
Your phone goes completely dead.
Oh my God.
The scammer slots their new SIM card into a burner phone, and to the telecom network, they now are you.
So when they open my banking app?
Exactly. When they open your fintech wallet and hit forgot password, the two-factor authentication text gets sent directly to their device.
That is so fast.
In regions where mobile money is vastly more common than traditional bank accounts, your phone number essentially operates as your bank vault. They reset the passwords and empty the wallets in minutes.
Structurally, it's like the phone number has been acting like a skeleton key or a universal barcode for your entire digital life. You wouldn't hand a stranger the keys to your bank account just to ask them a question, but WhatsApp has been forcing users to do exactly that just to participate in a group chat.
Yeah. And Africa Check, the fact-checking organization, they concluded something very striking about this dynamic.
What was that?
They noted that while a lot of those viral forwarded warnings you see on WhatsApp about elaborate hacking schemes...
Oh, like the don't accept this friend request chain letters.
Right, those are mostly fabricated.
Yeah.
But the underlying vulnerability of the exposed phone number, that is entirely real and systemic. It is the root cause of the actual fraud happening on the ground.
Which highlights this pretty massive irony in the tech press coverage right now. I mean, outlets like Wired and Forbes are covering the username launch as this shiny new privacy fix.
Yeah, they really are.
But reading the dossier, it feels less like an upgrade and more like an implicit admission of a 17-year-old security gap that WhatsApp knew about but just left open. They sold end-to-end encryption as the ultimate privacy shield, while the identity layer was basically left wide open.
Basically.
But if this vulnerability was causing such widespread harm, why on earth did it take 17 years to introduce usernames? To answer that, the sources suggest we have to look at the parent company, Meta, and this intense set of external pressures aligning right now.
The dossier presents a really fascinating split screen regarding Meta's motivations here.
Okay, let's hear it.
On one side of the PR push, you have WhatsApp's VP of Product, Alice Newton-Rex, actively promoting usernames as a core privacy feature.
Right, taking the victory lap.
But on the flip side, Bloomberg reported on a massive class action lawsuit from June 2026 alleging that WhatsApp actually maintains the technical capability to access supposedly encrypted chats.
Wait, let's slow down on the data collection piece, because this is where I think the mechanics confuse a lot of people.
Yeah.
If messages are genuinely end-to-end encrypted, and Meta claims they can't read the content of my texts, how are they actually making money off my account? Like, walk me through how my phone number connects my private chat to the broader Meta advertising machine.
It all comes down to metadata. Meta might not be able to read the specific words you type to, say, a local business, but they know exactly who you are talking to, at what time, how often, and from what location.
Okay.
That is the metadata. And because your WhatsApp account is inextricably tied to your phone number, Meta can take that number and cross-reference it with the number you provided to Facebook, Instagram, or even a third-party website.
So if I buy a pair of running shoes from an independent website?
If you buy shoes from a website, that site very likely uses a Meta tracking pixel to monitor their sale.
Oh, right.
The site sends your purchase data, hashed with your phone number, back to Meta. Meta's servers match the phone number from the shoe purchase to your WhatsApp phone number.
And suddenly my Instagram feed is full of ads for athletic socks.
Exactly. The phone number is the crucial anchor tying your supposedly isolated chat activity to your real-world identity across the entire internet.
Okay, so looking at this timeline in the dossier, I have a somewhat skeptical pushback here.
Let's hear it.
So what does this all mean for the user? Is Meta actually turning a new leaf on privacy, or is this just a highly calculated sleight of hand? Like, they give us usernames to hide our phone numbers so they can wave a shiny object at regulators, all while keeping the massive metadata surveillance machine running in the background.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the reporting in the dossier heavily supports that exact interpretation.
Really?
Yes, because Meta is facing converging, intense regulatory pressures right now that threaten their core business model.
Yeah.
You have the European Union's Digital Markets Act, which is forcing interoperability.
Meaning WhatsApp will have to let users message people on competing apps, right?
Right. Then India has implemented strict data localization rules. And critically, there are emerging enforcement frameworks across Africa.
Like what?
Kenya's Data Protection Act. South Africa's POPI, which strictly regulates how personal information is processed, and the African Union's Cybersecurity Convention. Regulators everywhere are suddenly demanding actual platform accountability.
So the dossier argues that Meta rolls out usernames to essentially pacify these regulators.
They label it a minimum viable privacy change. It is undeniably a genuine fix for the phone number harvesting. But the sources suggest it simultaneously serves as an incredibly strategic shield.
A shield from what?
When regulators start asking aggressive questions about cross-app tracking and surveillance capitalism, Meta can point to the username rollout and say, look at this massive privacy protection we just built for 3 billion people.
Ah, I see. It deflects attention from the broader data collection ecosystem.
Exactly. They fix the hole the public can clearly see, the exposed phone number, while quietly preserving the invisible metadata machinery running in the background.
Wow. Okay, but regardless of Meta's underlying motives, this new feature is rolling out right now. And moving from phone numbers to handles fundamentally alters the landscape of digital communication and introduces entirely new challenges for the user. What comes next?
The immediate consequences outlined in the dossier are going to be wild to watch unfold. The first major issue is username squatting.
Oh, like people grabbing famous names.
Exactly. When a handle becomes your primary identity on a network of 3 billion people, an underground market is inevitable. What happens when bad actors try to claim handles for heads of state, like at Ruto for the Kenyan president, or global figures like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala?
Right, but WhatsApp has claimed that because there's no public directory and no autocomplete function when you type a name into a search bar, the value of squatting is limited. They argue you can't just browse for a celebrity.
Sure, they argue that. But the reality of digital networks is that true usernames are always searchable once you know they exist. If someone grabs a famous handle first, they can use it to impersonate that figure in targeted community groups.
Or just hold the handle hostage, demanding a payout from a brand.
Exactly. And the demographics of who is actually adopting these usernames is going to drive a massive shift in how the app feels.
Let me guess, Africa is at the center of this shift too.
Yep. The continent has a median age of 19. The next billion WhatsApp users are coming online there. And Generation Z approaches digital identity very differently than older users.
They want to compartmentalize their identities.
Exactly. Teenagers and young professionals do not want their parents or teachers or potential employers finding them on a social app simply because they have their phone number saved in an old address book.
They want a clean separation between their private digital life and their permanent phone number.
It's a fundamental shift. They expect flexible, disposable identities, which usernames provide.
Wait, this brings up a critical flaw regarding the new attack vectors. If a phone number requires a physical SIM card, which is, relatively hard to get in bulk, aren't usernames actually easier for bad actors to abuse? Like, bots could generate thousands of fake handles for phishing scams and impersonating support staff in a way they never could with physical phone numbers.
This raises an important question, and it validates exactly why security researchers are watching this rollout so closely.
Right, because the barrier to entry for a scammer just dropped to 0.
Exactly. By closing the phone number vulnerability, Meta shrunk one very specific hardware-based attack surface. You can't easily harvest numbers anymore. But by introducing free, reusable usernames, they've opened a brand new attack surface that relies purely on social engineering.
Because a username isn't tied to a piece of plastic, you have to register with a telecom company?
Right. A bot farm can spin up 10,000 fake customer support handles in minutes. They can blast messages to users asking them to click a link to verify their new username status.
Oh man, people are definitely going to fall for that.
We are trading a hardware-based identity risk for a purely digital behavioral risk. It demands a completely different kind of digital literacy from the everyday user to spot an impersonator.
Okay, so based on all the reporting we've dug into today, we are left with this fascinating dual reality. On one hand, this update is undeniably a vital life-saving protection. For those journalists in Zimbabwe, the organizers in Kenya, or everyday users trying to avoid SIM swap fraud, hiding that phone number is a massive win.
It's very real, tangible improvement to personal security on the ground.
But on the other hand, it is a corporate masterclass in deflecting regulatory scrutiny while preserving an advertising empire built on metadata. As a user, it's a stark reminder to think carefully about what invisible data you're trading for the convenience of a slick new handle.
And, there's one final piece of this puzzle to mull over.
What's that?
If phone numbers have acted as the ultimate digital anchor for the last 2 decades, the single string of digits connecting our financial, social, and professional lives across the entire internet, what happens to the multi-billion-dollar data broker industry?
Oh, wow. The invisible companies buying and selling our information?
Exactly. They rely entirely on that phone number to tie all your disparate profiles together. If 3 billion people suddenly revoke access to that master key, the scanners at these data brokerages are going to start coming up blank.
That is such a good point. It really brings us back to where we started. They have finally let us take our home address off the front of the titanium safe.
Right.
The question you have to ask yourself now is, who is still tracking the delivery trucks coming in and out the back door? That's all for today's Deep Dives. Stay curious and keep a close eye on your data.